Hey, it's Chelsea. Thank you so much for being here. In this video, we are taking a look at the first of two Aries new moons, as well as the overall energies of Aries season. The first Aries new moon is exact March 21st at 1:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to adjust accordingly for your own time zone. To understand how this Aries new moon is going to be playing out in your life, take a look at your chart and locate 0 degrees and 50 minutes, so basically 1 degree of Aries. Pay attention to any planets or placements you may have on, around, or interacting with this area of your chart. So no matter how uncertain the world around us may seem, there is still beauty that surrounds us. Remembering our values and staying connected to them can help us as we navigate through the possible chaos and confusion. It's important at this time to choose our battles wisely and to understand who or what we are fighting for. The external noise is going to continue to get louder and louder, but our soul and our spirit is also speaking louder and with more clarity if we should allow ourselves to listen. So we enter into the new astrological new year and Aries season with the ruler of Aries, Mars, moving into an inconjunct with Pluto at the final minutes of Capricorn. Pluto will be entering Aquarius just 3 days after the beginning of Aries season on the 23rd, and on the 24th, Neptune is moving out of shadow. Mars has finally moved beyond its retrograde shadow, but it is still only within 2 degrees of a square with the Sun and Neptune, and so it's going to be square this new moon as well. The Sun and Mercury have joined the stellium of planets, dwarf planets, and asteroids in Aries. So now in the sign of Aries, we have the Sun, Mercury, Chiron, Jupiter, Vesta, and Eris. Jupiter is still only 2 degrees away from a conjunction with Chiron, so there is a lot of fiery energy, but there also seems to be some hesitancy, confusion, or even displaced anger when we look at Mars and the aspects coming from Pluto, the new moon, and Neptune. Mars is finally moving on to new territory as it is preparing to enter Cancer, where it is at its fall. So there could be a battle of the egos happening. Maybe internally we are battling our own ego, or externally we could be battling the egos of others. People could be short-tempered in certain situations, and we might even find ourselves having a short fuse. There is so much emphasis on Aries and Mars, which is like short bursts or sparks of energy. And Mars has basically been dragged through the hedges, or we could even be feeling like we have been dragged through the hedges. Our patience could be depleted. But if we are able to move through these heavier emotions of anger, regret, shame, or guilt, and just really let go, there is also a lot of very inspirational energy that is coming through that we can tap into, as well as bursts of energy that can help with initiating. So pay attention to what your body needs at this time in order to avoid getting burnt out. When there is an excess of Mars or Aries energy, it could lead to fevers, inflammation, headaches, and now more than usual, when consuming a lot of caffeine, alcohol, sweets, or processed foods, it can create an imbalance of the body's natural acid pH, or like acid base or pH levels. And our fight and flight response in our body could also be overly stimulated. So be sure to balance out action with rest and restoration. There is a strong emphasis in the chart of bringing balance into our lives. So leading up to and during the equinox, we have the dark moon, a dark moon in Pisces, conjunct Saturn and Neptune. In Pisces, the final sign of the zodiac, the ruler of the 12th house, the house of self, undoing, and the great unknown. And so this is also where there is a massive clearing of energy in order to move forward into the spring. So even though there is a rush of energy and a desire to initiate, there could be an energy or feeling of being immersed in the fog and an uncertainty of how to navigate through it, especially with Mars and Neptune still in a square. So we are beginning new cycles. We are in a new astrological year. Saturn is in a new sign, and for the first time in 6 years, Saturn is in a sign that it is not a ruler or co-ruler of. Pluto's going to be moving into a sign 2 days after this new moon, but only for 2.5 months, and then it's going back into Capricorn. So we're still in the process of completing very big cycles. Mars still has not left Gemini, where it's been since August 2022. And that's a long time. 7 months is the longest time that Mars can stay in a sign. And it typically moves through a sign about every 2 months. So this is a cycle that we are still finalizing as we enter into the new astrological year. Though Mars does enter Cancer on the 25th of March, that is not the energy of this equinox that is setting the tone or like an energetic imprint for the next 3 months. The nodes only have 4 more degrees to go before they change signs. But first, we have the first Aries eclipse in April at the anaretic degree, the final degree of Aries, and that eclipse will be squared by Pluto. And as Pluto moves forward, the nodes move in a retrograde movement, and they're going to form a fixed T-square. And then in May, we still have the final Scorpio eclipse before the nodes change signs. And at that time, the co-dispositors of the South Node in Scorpio, Pluto and Mars, will oppose one another, forming a fixed cross with the North and South nodes. So there are a lot of big changes happening and a lot of new energy that we are moving into. But first, we do still have a lot of cycles to finalize, and a lot of systems and structures in our lives are still breaking down. There is still a very big energetic clearing that we're in the process of. So at the time of this new moon and the equinox, it's fascinating to me that the sun is going to be in an exact opposition with Ceres at 0 degrees of Libra, as it's at its closest to the earth. So Ceres is connected to the equinoxes because in mythology, she is the reason for the separation between the winter and the fall and the spring and the summer. In mythology, Ceres had her daughter taken away by Jupiter and was traded to Pluto in the underworld. Ceres was outraged when she found out what happened, so Pluto and Ceres made an agreement that she could have her daughter 6 months out of the year during the spring and the summer. And so this is the time when the earth flourished, crops grew, and there was life. However, on the other hand, during the fall and the winter, while Ceres' daughter was in the underworld with Pluto, she was so miserable that she made the world suffer with her. There was no life, there was no chance of anything growing, everything on earth was dying. So Ceres is not only connected to the harvest, but also death. And notice how the glyph is it's a scythe, or a scythe, like what the Grim Reaper holds. But so Ceres is also connected to the way that we nurture ourselves and navigate life through times of extreme highs and extreme lows. We want to ultimately understand how to navigate the seasons of our lives in a way that is sustainable. We want to understand how to nurture ourselves when it does feel like we're being dragged into the depths of hell during certain phases of our lives. And ultimately, we want to be moving towards balance. So again, there is a big emphasis on balance. When we are aware of our energy and what we need or how full our cups are, and when it feels like we are starting to get depleted, we have those things in our lives that we can lean into in order to nurture ourselves and restore our energy so that we can keep going. This opposition that's happening at the time of the equinox and the new moon, while the sun and the moon are at Ceres during the new moon, it's emphasizing the importance of balance at this time. Yes, we are beginning cycles, but we are also ending them. We are growing and tending to the harvest, but we're also clearing out and removing the death or excess from our lives. This new moon is sextile Pluto, while Pluto is trine Ceres. So again, there's a big emphasis on massive, just a big clearing and acceptance and letting go. Pluto and Ceres made a sacrifice and a compromise. And so there could be certain areas in our own lives right now where we have to do the same. This Aries season has a strong energy of alchemy, like a phoenix, like using fire to transform into a completely different state. As we leave Aries season, we will be completely transformed. So during Mars' 7-month journey in Gemini, we learned how to take action and when to observe, as well as how to best use our energy in a way that preserves it. And the 12th house energy is strong in all of our lives now since Saturn has joined Neptune in Pisces. And the energetic imprint of this astrological new year is a dark moon in Pisces. So this is a very internal energy, an energy of reflection, of understanding all that has happened as well as taking action. We have to pay attention to the way that we are feeling internally to understand what we need in each moment and how to navigate through this energy and transformation in our lives. It's important to reflect on the themes and cycles that we have learned over the last several years to really understand how we can evolve from those cycles that we may have been trapped in so that we can move on into new lessons and themes in our lives. We don't want to be bringing old baggage with us into these new phases. We want to be creating space for the lives that we want. So we want to be clearing space energetically, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and spiritually. This world is going through dramatic changes, so we can only assume that we're going to be going through those personal changes in our lives as well. It's a process that we have already entered into, and we cannot be clinging on to our old lives that are dissolving. We need to focus on moving forward and how we can create strong foundations in the new lives that are being created, whether we want them to or not. We can understand how Pluto transformed certain areas of our lives since 2008. So look to the house, the planets and placements that Capricorn falls in within your chart to understand themes of power, transformation, and loss that may have happened. How are you able to navigate changes in your life? Do you cling on and just wait until things get so unbearable that you are forced to change? Or do you understand when a situation has played itself out and is ready to be transformed? Where might you have given your power away to certain people or situations? Are there harsh truths that you have been avoiding or ignoring? Mars has been in Gemini since August, so look to what house Gemini is within your chart and see if you have any planets or placements there. And what have you learned since August regarding the direction of your life or your goals, the way that you take action, or even the beliefs that you have involving what you can achieve in your life? In what ways might you be wasting energy, and how instead can you be investing your energy into things that can last long term? So the first Mars-Neptune square was in mid-October. Were you working through confusion or manipulation at that time? Mars is still pulling away from the third and final Neptune square that happened March 15th. So these are themes and patterns that we are still processing, especially because Neptune creates a fog and makes it difficult to see. So you kind of have to wait sometimes until you're outside of that situation to really have clarity. We're moving through this strange space of uncertainty. What is real? What is an illusion? And especially because now Saturn is in Neptune's house in Pisces. So as you can see, when we look at what we have been going through, when we look at the astrology, there's been a lot to unpack, and we're still going to be working through a lot. We're in a period of time where these big outer planets that impact humanity and the collective, they're making really big shifts. 2020 was the big year of conjunctions, and now we have entered into a time where Saturn and Pluto have changed or will be changing signs within weeks of each other. And so now Saturn and Pluto are finally going to be more than 30 degrees apart for the first time since 2016. But Pluto is going to be going back and forth over 0 degrees of Aquarius until December 2024. And every time it does that, it's going to be triggering the 2020 Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that happened at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So what was happening in your life December 2020 and January 2021? Because every time Pluto moves over 0 degrees of Aquarius from March 23rd until December 2024, it's going to be triggering the degree of the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. And so this conjunction also on a wider scale, it's connected to the rise and the fall of kings and empires. So that conjunction happened 2 years ago, but that was only the start of a 20-year cycle. And it's still playing out in our own lives and in the world around us. And if we really wanted to go deeper into it, it was the beginning of a new Saturn-Jupiter conjunction cycle happening in air signs, which began a new 240-year cycle. And the last time that Saturn and Jupiter were so close in the sky that you could see them visibly as one star, seemingly as one star, the last time that happened was in the Middle Ages in 1226. So I say all of this to say that these transits that are happening take years to fully play out. When we happen, we talk about them and then we move on to the next transit because new ones are happening all of the time. But these major transits that have been happening take years to fully play out. So we're seeing them unravel all around us all of the time. And on top of that, we are living at a time on Earth where a lot of these very long cycles are coming to an end and all of these new ones are beginning. It's like the convergence of all these different cycles where they meet together and the possibilities of what can happen is exponential. And so it makes me think of a past life regression session I did a couple years ago. A man was in between lives and he was somewhere he described as a train station. And it was so busy, people were coming and going, souls were coming and going. And that's like what's happening right now. We are all coming and going at the station that is Earth. And whatever happens here impacts what is to come, what's to come next, individually and collectively, and maybe even planetarily impacting the whole universe. But not only are we all meeting on Earth at this time, all of the planets are coming together in these big ways at this convergence. And so this is where our karma is playing out and we cannot escape it. Sometimes I don't like to use words like karma, like just certain words seem to be so played out and the meaning has become diluted. But we're undeniably at this point now where we are directly facing our past as we navigate the present. And there was once a time when we could be blissfully ignorant to our past, our traumas, our karma, our cycles, or our patterns. But we can't escape them any longer because the more we try to act like they aren't there, the louder they become in our subconscious mind. And our external world directly reflects what is happening within. And so this is a big time of just clearing energy. This is what I mean when I'm saying there are massive clearings happening. And so at this time, Venus has also moved into Taurus, where it is home, and it's also conjunct the North Node along with Juno as Aries begins. So this can be a great time to make a new commitment to yourself. This is also a time to stay firmly grounded within ourselves so that we are deeply connected to our values and do not fall back into those old South Node Scorpio cycles. This is a time when we want to be moving in integrity. So much corruption is going to be coming to the surface on a collective level. And so because of that, we can trust that in our own lives, truth will be rising to the surface as well. And this goes back to the 12th house energy of self-undoing. How do we hold ourselves back? How might we keep ourselves trapped in cycles that prevent us from being more connected with ourselves on a spiritual level? Are we numbing ourselves or distracting ourselves, or are we getting involved in situations that are simply just filling voids that we have within ourselves? These are the types of cycles that we want to be evolving out of so that we don't have to keep going through them, living through the same situations in different settings with the same characters disguised as different people. Focus on what you want to be in your life, on where you want to be in your life, on who you want to be in your life, what you want to be in your life, and make plans in order to create these tangible changes. The new moon in Aries is less than 24 hours after the sun enters Aries. Mars, the ruler of this new moon, is still square the sun and Neptune, so this new moon squares Mars. Mars is also creating a quincunx with Pluto that is going to be entering Aquarius only 2 days after this new moon on the 23rd. So again, Mars and Pluto are the co-dispositors of the South Node in Scorpio, and the South Node only has 4 degrees of Scorpio left. And so there is a lot of power that we have within our energy reserves that we can tap into as we are nearing the end of this 18-month journey of the nodes in the Taurus-Scorpio axis. And fears will be rising to the surface, and as we face them and overcome them, we will be embodying more of our power. If we choose to ignore our fears or the suppressed pain that we carry, they will continue to follow us and haunt us. So pay close attention to your fears or how you still hold yourself back, and be aware of how you may be held back by them, especially as Mercury in Aries forms a quincunx with the South Node. This is a powerful time of transmutation. We can transform fear into love, our greatest pain and our traumas into our greatest power or strength. But be aware of power struggles or how you may willingly give your power away to other people or situations. In mid-May, once Mars enters Leo, Mars is going to be in an opposition with Pluto in Aquarius, and they will be both squaring the nodes, creating a fixed cross. So if we aren't learning the lessons now, trusting our power and embodying it, we will be greatly challenged by that transit in mid-May. Listen to your instincts and your intuition right now and follow what you are sensing. With Mars and Pluto quincunx one another, we need to figure out how to connect their energies in a way that we aren't finding ourselves being debilitated by anger, and where we can avoid impulsive arguments. Bridges can be burned under this influence. So if you find yourself in a tense situation, take a step back and try to gain a wider perspective. Mars has finally moved past its retrograde shadow, so there could be an energy of wanting to initiate and wanting to move towards new things. But there could still be that fog and confusion coming from Neptune. As the Neptunian fog clears, suppressed information and harsh truths will likely be surfacing. Corruption is being revealed, which we are already seeing as Pluto has been moving through that anaretic degree of Capricorn all of Pisces season, completely destroying so many different aspects within our society and breaking down structures even within our own lives. Mars is moving into a water trine with Saturn, and this is an aspect that can assist us in creating new foundations in our lives. So be patient and have discipline in order to create lasting changes. Mars in Cancer can move intuitively, and Saturn in Pisces can create lasting changes while tapping into infinite possibilities. Trust in your intuition and explore what you are passionate about. Envision a goal and move persistently towards it. We are moving through very big changes in our lives, and this world is moving through big changes. So protect your energy, stay balanced, and take chances towards the life you dream to create. Stay grounded, trust and follow your instincts, and surrender to the transformation. Remember that as we are moving through these big collective shifts, as we are entering into completely new cycles, we are still finalizing and closing out very big cycles. This time that we are in right now is just so powerful. And if we are really able to tap into this energy, we can use it for our benefit. It's just important to not get lost in it, to not get lost in the emotions, to not get lost in our anger, and to just stay grounded, stay present, stay centered, and to really tune into what our body is telling us. And also be aware of these big shifts that are happening in your life right now. Like as Saturn has moved into the sign of Pisces, where is Pisces in your own chart? And is Saturn interacting with any personal planets that you have or any placements in your chart? Because now is a time that we're really kind of getting the hint of what this transit in Pisces is going to bring for us. And so really pay attention. I mean, it's speaking to us very loud right now. Like, for example, my sleep schedule is crazy. And so Saturn has entered into my 6th house, and I knew day-to-day routine, I knew that was going to be something that I was going to have to focus on. And also our day-to-day routine can greatly impact our health. And so I was kind of not listening to my body needing sleep when I should, and when I felt like I knew I should. And so I ignored it. And now my physical body is feeling symptoms from that. And so I'm having to kind of reconfigure my schedule and work in a way that Saturn is offering, like, offering its lessons for and its input. So that's a big area of our chart to pay attention to right now. And when we really lean into the discipline, the structure, the routine, and the the energy that Saturn offers, we can experience great blessings in our lives. Like Jupiter will bring us blessings, but Saturn brings blessings as well. It's only the difference is you really have to work for them, whereas Jupiter might be more of an unexpected blessing. With Saturn, you really have to put in the work and put in the dedication and persistence, and that's where we'll start to see the changes. So that's a really big area of your chart to pay attention to right now. And also be aware of the house that Cancer, what house is Cancer within your chart, and do you have any planets or placements there? Because that's where we're going to be getting a big shift of energy as Mars enters into Cancer on the 25th. And and so again, it's just so fascinating to me that the asteroid, or it's actually a dwarf planet, Ceres, that symbolizes the equinoxes and the separation between, the colder months and the warmer months of the year. Ceres is at 0 degrees of Libra at the time of the Aries equinox and Aries new moon. And so with all of that emphasis on the planets in Aries right now, and it's like so easy to focus on, oh, it's the astrological new year, finally Mars is out of shadow, I want to get stuff done, this, and this. Don't forget that the energy of Aries often is not sustainable. And so with that abundance of Aries energy, we want to remember the opposite axis of Aries. We want to remember Libra, and Ceres is really giving us a very powerful reminder of that, being right at 0 degrees, right opposing the sun and the moon during the new moon. And so I would say overall, the most important thing to keep in mind during Aries season will be balance. And in order to be in balance, we need to really listen to our bodies. We need to listen to what it is, like instinctually. That's another thing that Aries is very strong with, is it's an energy of your instincts and that first initial reaction to something. And so we want to really be listening to our instincts. And Mars and Cancer, again, like Mars and Cancer, Saturn and Pisces, we have also very intuitive energy that is being offered to us right now, an instinctual energy. And so really leaning into that and being aware of what it is that we need the first time that we are hearing it. Because like I said, I was ignoring my sleep schedule. I was like, it's fine, I'll get to it when I get to it. But then health issues started coming up. And Saturn's going to be in Pisces for the next 3 years. So pay attention to what house it is reconfiguring and bringing structure and routine to in your own life, and honor that. Because as we really put in the work over the next few years and stay consistent, we will get those big Saturn blessings. So on that note, I think that's about everything that I wanted to say. Thank you again so much for being here. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And also, and if you want to book a personal reading, the link is below. You can go to my website for that. And I think that's about everything. So thank you so much. I'm wishing you a powerful transformation throughout this Aries season. And yeah, feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and just tap into, the daily updates that I do, or I try to do them daily. But like I said, I've had to take a step back and I'm trying to reorganize my routine, which is really hard for a night owl. But anyway, so yeah, thank you so much. Sending you all the blessings, and we'll talk next time. Bye.